The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to episode 2, a conversation with former Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson and Julian Uggan. Attorney Julian Uggan is that. And of course, episode 2, last week, we concentrated on the plebiscite. This week, we're going to be talking about medicinal marijuana, the rules and regs, where we're at. I know the people of Guam had the opportunity to vote a little over a year ago. And I just want to start off, but Attorney General, let me say just the genesis, because this young man here, okay, he was responsible for the arguments that was able to put it on the ballot for the people of Guam to be able to vote for their desire. So Julian, tell us about that experience. And I was on your side touting that, and I never had an opportunity to call you to thank you. I mean, you're the guy that stays behind the scene. Don't want to talk. Look, I'm just doing my work, you know. But congratulations on that. What was that experience like?
Oh man, it was interesting. So it was definitely a challenge, but it was bracing. It was kind of thrilling. I looked forward to it because it was another example of a case where the questions are constitutionally complex, and I kind of enjoy cutting my teeth on those kinds of cases. So I had a good time. I represented the Guam legislature. We filed a request for a declaratory judgment, which is an original proceeding. So basically we're allowed under Guam law to bring a case before the Supreme Court of Guam when one of the 3 branches of government's power is in jeopardy of being infringed. So in this case, it was the Guam legislature's Organic Act authority to place referendums before the people of Guam. In this case, the referendum whether or not to legalize medicinal marijuana. So that was the case, and we brought it essentially because Guam Election Commission had refused to place the question before the voters in the 2014 election.
Well, what are the arguments? And correct me if I'm wrong, mistaken in this argument, because from my read with this, because the argument was basically that the Guam legislature did not have the authority under the Organic Act to place this, or to basically give their job to somebody else to do. And basically that's what I think the essence of that argument was, hey, your job is to craft laws, to make laws, and you can't give it to somebody else. But this was unlike, well, let me give it to the mayors now, have them decide this. This is giving it to direct democracy as opposed to the representative democracy. I'm giving it to the people now to decide. So if we as a body cannot decide, we have another means to be able to do that, and our authority is to give it to direct democracy to decide. If I'm not mistaken, that was pretty much the essence of the argument, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty good wrap-up. That was the argument, was that it was an impermissible delegation of the legislature's authority to make the laws. But basically, you know, like every statute, when you have 2 seemingly conflicting provisions in a statute, you have to reconcile them. There's a canon of construction that says you try to preserve the legality and validity of both provisions. So in this case, the Organic Act of Guam actually has a separate provision in Title 48 that actually says the people of Guam shall have direct democracy. It shall have the right of referendum and an initiative. So in this case, we're saying that act, it's called, even if it's not in the Guam statute called a legislative referendum, it's still a referendum within the meaning of the Organic Act, meaning the Guam legislature was explicitly empowered under the Organic Act to transfer such a question to the electorate, to have the people decide for themselves. So our essential argument was that Organic Act absolutely allowed the Guam legislature to submit a question, to put a question like whether or not to legalize medicinal marijuana to the voters. And we essentially won on that issue. The Supreme Court ruled in the legislature's favor.
So, you know, again, going before the Supreme Court, the justices, you know, I mean, it's not a jury judging you now. These are experts up there, you know, I mean, looking at you. I mean, the questions must have been, man, I mean, just being thrown at yourself and also to the other party in regards to constitutional Organic Act questions. I mean, you got to know your stuff, man.
Yeah,
he does.
They're really good. The justices, but they're all. I really appreciated their questions. I mean, even if it was fast, they were hurtling questions at me. The truth is, they're really thoughtful jurists, and they care about jurisprudential. They have a very clear jurist sensibility. They care about the thoughtful, sensible, careful evolution of Guam law. So that they care that, you know, so they take great care, and even their questions reflected that they took great care to understand and to properly empower and curtail. So they were they had that in mind. And so when I was answering the questions, I was trying to answer the questions in a way a jurist would appreciate, and try to tell them that it would set such bad jurisprudence to tie the legislature's hand in such a way by imposing on on all of us such a hyper-technical reading of the Organic Act. The Organic Act has been amended consequently, like time and time again, to sort of further empower the Guam government to actually govern. So I was like, if we do this and roll back the legislature's authority, this actually is bad precedent for all of us. So, and I think that that's the sort of the particular kind of jurisprudential sort of lens that they had on. It was the eyeglasses that they were wearing when they were looking at the case.
And absolutely, and all the amendments that happened to the Organic Act was to give more power to the local government and to reduce that.
But the best power to the local government and the people of Guam is Guam's constitution.
There we
and
go.
I tell you,
that's for another show.
It is another show. I love hearing Julian's argument and about organic this and organic that, and we have a wonderful Supreme Court that should be interpreting the Constitution of the people of Guam as opposed to a federal document that we didn't play a part in developing. So. You promised to have me
I
on
promise.
someday,
I promise. So let's fast forward, because Julian did his job, and he was able to get it on the ballot for the people to decide. So the people decided, they prevailed, and they gave it over to Public Health. Public Health did their rules and regulations. And when you first got into office, actually earlier this year, we sat down and we talked amongst other things that you wanted to be involved in. And one of the things you said, and one thing I asked you about, was the rules and regs that are being put together by Public Health. And one of the things you said from the very beginning is that it would be nice if you sat alongside putting the rules and regs together. And so when it does officially come to your office to review, that, I mean, you are a part of putting that process together. I did not see that happen.
No, it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. So now it's on your desk, and people are saying, what is she doing? From what I'm gathering is there are many concerns you have.
There are. The one thing Public Health did ask me when I came into office, as they started to prepare for their obligation to draft the rules and regulations, they wanted to know when the law was effective. So we said it's effective February, I don't remember exact date, but it was passed, the voters passed it in November. By February, Public Health, your time starts ticking.
Okay.
And you have 9 months to prepare and develop your rules and regulations. So that's what they did ask. And from there, they went forward. And we never really got together, or they never sought our advice in drafting and developing what I would call, in my experience as a government attorney, what was going to be some very, very difficult rules and regulations. And I was most interested, not so much in, and I know the registration, the certification, the applications are important, but I would be most interested in the inspection, the enforcement to make sure things are running right. And there was a public hearing in early summer, and I told my staff, go down to the public hearing. I'd asked my staff, have we heard from the department? No. I said, well, go down to the public hearing and take notes and gather. So I sent my Deputy Attorney General and my solicitor who works with Public Health. And then we did get an early copy of what was given to the legislature at that public hearing. So we were part of the public. So we had that. And Public Health then indicated that they would take the comments, the public comments in early summer, and incorporate those into their draft. And then by October 19th, we finally got 154 pages.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, that being said, I always said that as well because the producer of my show, the namesake, is his son, of course. Yes. Joaquin Concepcion. But that being said, General, the fact that again that you're reviewing this, the fact that Public Health said we pretty much mirrored the rules and regulations of, I guess, Arizona. Okay, Arizona. That being a state, unlike a territory, that must have passed muster. I mean, if it passed, I guess the legal the legal test of Arizona must be good for Guam. You know, and they're a state attorney general, and that's attorney general from, they have their own constitution at that, you know. So if it passes that, what's good for Arizona is probably good for Guam too. But before you answer that, I got to pay some bills, okay? And then we get back to the constitutional question here, right? So anyway, we mesh it up. Anyway, pay some bills. We'll be right back.
Okay.